I'm Susan Lawless, the Director of the Halifax Council on Aging. I would like to welcome you to our new program, Senior Safety, with District Attorney Tim Cruz. Since everyone is practicing social distancing and staying home to help keep themselves safe, the need to develop a program to bring valuable information and resources out to our senior community arose. As a cooperative effort between the Halifax Council on Aging, the Plymouth Council on Aging, Plymouth County District Attorney Tim Cruz, Plymouth County Sheriff Joe McDonald, and Area 58 Community Television, we are proud to present this program. The Senior Safety Program has been designed to be educational, informative, and lighthearted. It will cover a wide array of topics, which will include public safety, supportive services, and community interests. The topics we will explore for this episode will include how the pandemic is affecting our court system, the effect the pandemic has had on the DA's office, and some recent scams that have surfaced during COVID-19. Our guests for this segment are Plymouth County District Attorney Tim Cruz and Jean Kling. District Attorney Cruz, could you tell us what is happening in our courts, and has the court system changed because of the COVID pandemic?
Yes, hi Susan. Thanks for inviting me on today's program, and hi Jean. It's great to see everybody in these difficult and challenging times. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Tim Cruz. I'm the Plymouth County DA, and I have been for the last better part of the last 20 years. And I'll tell you, the past few months have certainly been very strange and unusual from the court system perspective that I've ever seen. Many months ago, we were trying cases in every court in Plymouth County: Brockton, Plymouth, Wareham, and Hingham. We had grand juries going on, investigations going on, day-to-day work every single day. And then when Governor Baker came down with his state of emergency on March 10th, and then the Supreme Judicial Court, our highest court in Massachusetts, issued orders, it certainly has changed what we're doing. Obviously for the betterment of all of us, they're trying to protect public health. They're trying to reduce the risk of exposure to the virus and slowing the spread of the disease. But we continue to morph and change our way through. We're really finding out really how adaptable we are. The SJC has changed their recommendations monthly, weekly, sometimes daily, moving the ball down the field as things change. And we watch every day. The governor gives a news conference on where we are and some of the other changes that may be going on. And we've just been dealing with those. So as we sit here right now, all jury trials in both criminal and civil case sessions this year that were scheduled between March and October of this year have been continued to a date no earlier than January or February of 2021. And on another date right around that time period, we're going to commence phase one of the gradual resumption of the jury trials. And phase one, what it is, it's a limited rollout, a small number of 6-person jury trials throughout the Commonwealth that will be actually conducted in person in a select number of locations with no more than one trial in each location. Due to the recent rise in COVID, phase one right now is on hold. And the reason why there wouldn't be more than one is because they want to bring in a limited number of jurors into the building. And we also have to, because a lot of our courts were built years ago, we also have to social distance people between each other, including jury pools. So unfortunately, what this has created is a lot of backlog of cases. Unfortunately, the backlog will continue to grow. The good news is that as we've progressed to the last 6, 7, 8 months, a number of the matters have been back open for limited business. We continue to do virtual hearings. We do remote hearings whenever we can. This week, the trial court took a step back from where we were because of Thanksgiving, because they were concerned of it being a super spreader this week. So therefore, they slowed down even more than usual the number of people that were allowed into the buildings. But notwithstanding all that, we continue to do in-person hearings, virtual hearings. My appellate team has hearings in front of the Supreme Judicial Court, which are usually hearings on the appeal cases. And I myself have participated in the parole hearings, which are normally done. I usually go to Natick, where they're actually heard on a statewide basis, but I've been doing those virtual also. I continue to have Zoom meetings with the other DAs. There's 11 elected DAs in the Commonwealth, and trying to get an update on the full opening and the reopening of the courts. As I said earlier, in Plymouth, there's 4 district courts and Brockton Superior Court. The trial court continues to consult with the CDC guidance regarding reopening, and they have a 60-item checklist that they adhere to for health and safety requirements. They make sure that all the courthouse staff self-screen before work. They answer health questions and take temperatures. If you've been to a court in the last few months, you've been asked a series of questions upon entering the building. You've also had your temperature taken. They've done health screening for detainees, making sure there's only one person per cell. The capacity in the courthouses, they've limited the numbers of people in the courtrooms, in the public spaces and stairwells, all 6 feet social distancing. And they're putting up signage for the staff, and also plexiglass shields where they can, and barriers. So, our court system is up and running. It's a huge undertaking. Things continue to be very different. But I feel good to the effect that I believe we're going forward, just not in the progress that we're used to.
District Attorney Cruz, with the court so limited, how's your office able to function? And what happens if someone commits a crime?
Yeah, Jean, unfortunately, crime has not stopped due to the pandemic. At the district attorney's office, we're open for business. My main office is in Brockton. That's where I am virtually every day in my main office. But we have limited capacity of people that are here. Altogether in the district attorney's office, we have 133 employees who are dispersed in the 4 district courts that I talked about a little earlier. As we've had to adapt, I guess is really what it comes down to. From COVID-19. We in the building, in here, the people that are here, are practicing social distancing. Many of our assistant DAs and our advocates and employees are working from home to the extent that they can. We have rotating schedules for people to come in and do some of their work here, as well as our victim witness advocates who have to stay in contact with our victims in our cases. A lot of the matters are being handled remotely, like I said earlier. The arraignments, which is your first time to court when you have the initial appearance and you enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Those are being handled remotely via teleconference or video, very limited in-person hearings, and very few of the inmates being held at the jail are actually wanting to come in light of the fact that if they come into court, when they go back to the jail, if they're still being held, they're going to be quarantined for 14 days. So therefore, I think they also prefer doing it via video or remotely. But, every day, I think we're getting back. We still continue to do arraignments and indictments. As I said, we've done a couple of trials already. Our grand jury hearings, which is very important to conducting our business, has been going for the last few months, not normal way, but in a different way. We continue to work, and we hope that there's no further problems or setbacks. But, as we all know now, I think we're all ready for the unusual. And I think that's what we continue to do. So if anybody has information out there regarding one of their cases, if they get a jury notice, if they get something, if they're a victim or if they're a witness in a case, feel free to call our office, 508-584-8120, or go to PlymouthDA.com. If you need any information, we can direct you to where to go if we don't have it, and we can answer your questions.
District Attorney Cruz, before the coronavirus pandemic hit, there was a lot of great work being done in regards to battling the opioid epidemic. What toll has the pandemic taken on the success that was made?
Yeah, you're right. So that's a great question. I mean, once again, crime hasn't stopped due to the pandemic, and the opiate crisis has not stopped due to the pandemic. And although here in our county we've been able to make great strides against the opioid epidemic, we still deal with the people who are struggling every day with substance abuse, the disorders that they're dealing with. COVID-19 has significant issues. So we continued on, and we continue on now, whether it be through our Plymouth County Drug Abuse Task Force, our Plymouth County Outreach, and all the different groups that we have. So what we're doing is we continue to track data that we have. We continue to track substance use trends through our database. In other words, how many fatal overdoses do we have here in Plymouth County? How many regular overdoses, non-fatal? How many were treated with Narcan? How many shots of Narcan? How were substance abusers and their families utilize our support and our treatment services? And at the same time, we realize that in order to deal with the addiction and deal with our drug courts, we have a drug court in every court in Plymouth County now. The state police need to continue doing their job. And as you may not know, we have here in the DA's office, in every DA's office, we have state police troopers who are assigned to the DA's office. So for every suspicious death, which includes unattended fatal overdoses, the troopers who work in my office, and we have 24 of them, will go throughout our county for any suspicious death, whether it be a homicide, suicide, whatever it may be that doesn't occur inside a hospital or it's not attended, as they say. And they continue to also work with our local police in conjunction with their ongoing drug investigations, and realizing and understanding that people who are out there that are distributing fentanyl or carfentanil or opiates, they're peddling poison and they're killing people. So we have a duty and a responsibility to make sure we can try to keep that stuff off the streets. And our state police are continuing to do that. And we've gotten significant amounts of heroin and opiates off the street. We've got significant amounts of cocaine and all sorts of other things that are going on. So trying to make sure we can go after the distributors, making sure we can go after their businesses, the people who are not peddling their drugs to use, they're peddling to make money on the backs of the people who have substance abuse disorders. And we need to continue to do that. And through Plymouth County Outreach, which is an offshoot of the task force, it's a collaboration of all the local police departments, all 27 of our police departments here in Plymouth County, my office, the sheriff's office, all dealing with recovery and treatment and mental health facilities. We've been able to stay stable, trying to get resources out. We continue to do our meetings. I meet virtually with the Plymouth County Outreach quarterly meetings. And once again, we talk about the impact that COVID-19 is having on overdoses, Narcan, distribution, on-call recovery coaches. When Plymouth County Outreach was up and running, for the most part, within 12 to 24 hours of a non-fatal opiate overdose, a police officer, plainclothes, and a recovery coach would come to your door and bring information there to try to help people. One of the stigmas of drug abuse and substance abuse is a huge problem. People sometimes are reluctant to go get help that they need. But we've had great success with that. And we continue to deal with a lot of our recovery and support services, although they've moved virtual. Virtual settings online now. But we also have virtual resources. We see for grandparents who find themselves because their child may be addicted to drugs, that they find themselves in the role of parent for their grandkids. We have help that's out there, and we have guidance at our website at PlymouthDA.com. So I once again ask you, if you have questions, go on PlymouthDA.com, go to the Plymouth County Drug Abuse Task Force. There's great information that's there. And as we proceed also in these unprecedented times, what we find that in times of tragedy, there are bad people out there. And they try to take advantage of people's goodness of trying to help other people. And they try to, and what we see is increases in scams and cyber crimes, all related to misinformation, all dealing with the fears associated with COVID-19. And these people are out there trying to take your hard-earned money. And so what we have to do, much like what we're doing with the court system, much like what we're doing with the opiate drug issues, we all have to stay alert and vigilant. We all have to make sure we're out and we're talking about these issues that are going on and that we can make sure that we can protect each other.
District Attorney Cruz, could you tell us what type of scams you've been seeing and how they work?
Yeah, Gene, it's crazy. It really is. The Grandparent Scam has taken on a whole new scheme. I'm sure we've all heard versions of it, where it's duped, unfortunately, a number of our seniors into giving away large amounts of monies of their savings. The best way to protect yourself from this is to be very wary and understand the way that the scam works. And the way that the Grandparent Scam works is that usually you'll get a call in the middle of the night. And let's face it, if your phone's ringing in the middle of the night, that's never a good call. It's always going to be something that startles you. It's going to be something that alarms you. And when you pick up the phone, you're going to hear a voice, and you're going to be startled by it. And you're going to hear somebody say grandma or grandpa, and they're going to give you a story. I just got arrested. I need help. Please don't tell mom and dad. They're going to kill me. I need you to please wire me some money for bail. I promise I'm going to pay you back. Or whether they were overseas and they got robbed. There's going to be a story that they're trying to put together. With COVID, the one that we saw in our county that unfortunately worked, and although it has led to a subsequent arrest, which is unusual, is that the grandparent got a call from who they believed to be their grandson. And the story was that this was right at the beginning of COVID, about in April of this year, that the story was that this young man was up with a buddy of his up in New Hampshire, and they were driving in their car. And they had a car accident, and somebody got hurt. And because of COVID-19 up there, he was going to be held on bail until the next court date. But because of COVID-19, the next court date wasn't for a week. So unless the grandmother came up with the amount of money they wanted was $8,000 cash, and unless they came up with that money, that child was going to be held in custody for that week. And so, that's what got that thing going.
But wouldn't a grandparent recognize their grandchild's voice?
Yeah, and that's what you're thinking. Don't forget, they're not just calling you; they're calling many people, and many people will hang up And many people are not going to bite onto the line, so to speak. But some people, don't forget, you're asleep, you wake up in the middle of the night, you're startled. And then what we see happening is when they say, grandma, grandpa, one of the grandma or grandpas will say, Johnny or Susie, is that you? And then you'll respond. And they'll say, oh, yeah, it is me, grandma. So then what that does, it sets you up for the next step of the scam. And what they'll say, like that story I'm talking about with New Hampshire, they'll say, oh, my friend that I was with, his dad's a lawyer. He's going to help me. I'm going to put him on. So you're not talking to your grandkid the person who's starting to be your grandkid for a long period of time. You're just speaking to him or her for a very brief period of time, just enough to find out who it is. And then you talk to a person. If they get hurt in a car accident, it's a doctor. If they're being held on bail, it's a lawyer. And they're going to give you information as to how you can help your grandson, your granddaughter. And they're going to talk to you about, how it is, and they'll very well call you back numbers of times that day. In that case up in New Hampshire, there were ongoing phone calls that day, and they kept saying to the woman, we're going to need $8,000. They wanted her to meet at a location in her town. And as the day progressed, she actually went to her bank. And a lot of our banks and even our supermarkets realize that if a senior comes in and asks for something that's unusual, so if somebody comes in, they're getting $25 every Friday, and all of a sudden they come in and ask for $8,000 cash. The tellers know, are you okay? Is something wrong? And in this instance, the woman said, I'm okay. There's no problems. I just need the money. So she still was involved in that scam. And what invariably happened is that these scammers, through more conversations, actually sent a courier to her house and showed up at the end of her driveway. And because it was COVID, the person was wearing a mask. She walked down to the end of her driveway and handed that man $8,000 in cash. And they drove away, and they said, you're going to hear from your grandson in a couple of hours. Of course, she never does. She calls her grandson after, and at that point, she goes, Grandma, what are you talking about? I haven't been in New Hampshire. And by that time, the money's gone.
What should we do if we receive one of these calls?
If you get a call or a text or an email and claiming to be a relative, claiming to be a grandchild, claiming to be a friend, somebody who's in trouble, the most important thing is to resist that urge to act immediately. We all want to help, especially our loved ones, as soon as we can. And so if the story sounds dire, it sounds really upsetting, you're going to want to help. You need to verify that caller's identity. Try not to say the names of the people that are, Johnny or Susie. Try to ask questions that they wouldn't know, a stranger wouldn't know. Try to ask some of those questions. And reach out to family members, even if they say don't. That should be the telltale sign that something's not right, when they're saying, oh, no, don't talk to anybody else. And if they start asking you for cash, gift cards, money transfers, you know something's wrong. And once they get their money, it's probably gone and you're never going to get it back, which is why it's so important that we continue to talk to people about this and make sure that they find out and don't do it before it happens.
Are there any other scams targeting seniors that we should all be aware of?
Yeah, unfortunately there are, Susan. There's a number of scams that are out there. One of the other scams that's going on now, once again, COVID-19 related, somebody will call you up and they'll say that, good morning, according to our system, you're likely to have been in close proximity to someone who's tested positive for COVID-19. This means now that you have to self-isolate for 14 days and take a COVID test. Now, if somebody calls you up with that, you're originally going to say, well, who was I near? Who was it? They're going to tell you because of HIPAA regulations, they can't tell you who it is. They're not allowed to share that information because it's somebody else's medical information. And they're going to tell you that you need to be tested within 72 hours. And that they're going to need, your best mailing address, and so they can send you a kit. And they're also going to need a credit card payment for $50. And when you question that topic of money, of $50, they're going to say it's a one-time fee for the kit and the results, and they will pressure you for that. They will pressure you to read off your credit card numbers. When the victim pushes back that there shouldn't be a fee, the scammer is going to threaten you with penalties for non-complying. Once again, that should be a red alert that something's not right. Earlier this year, the Massachusetts Senior Medicare Patrol Program sent out an alert warning to seniors. It said never accept any form of COVID-19 testing from anybody other than a treating licensed physician or from a state-designated testing site. These scammers are actually going door to door also. and approaching people in public, offering them to give them a corona test. And what they'll do is they give you a fake test, a false positive result, and they offer to treat you immediately. And through the scam, they've been obtaining people's Medicare numbers and money, and they've even gone so far, believe it or not, to bill Medicare for the services that they provided. And another scam that has popped up during this time period is a Social Security scam. Telephone scammers are calling you up. They're pretending to be government employees that work for the Social Security Administration or some other government agency, and they will send you, email you false documents that look really official. Look at an official website. They're emailing you something, and this is a form of phishing. And they're going to tell you that, there's a problem, there's an issue with your Social Security number or your account, and that you owe a debt or a fine, and they're going to threaten to arrest or pursue other legal action against you. And what they're going to say to you, unless you pay the debt with fine, retail gifts, prepaid debit cards, transfers, or cash. Now remember this, and I often tell this when I go on, is that because I think we've all heard about the IRS scam where IRS is actually calling. I think we've all got the call. You probably get 5 of them a day. And you have somebody screaming at you on the phone, telling you that you're going to be arrested unless you comply, unless you send money, unless you do this. So what I've been telling everybody is the same thing. And it's a secret in law enforcement. I'm going to tell you all if you just promise not to tell anybody else. When law enforcement is going to come and arrest you, they're not going to call you first. They're just going to come and arrest you. So if somebody is threatening you with arrest, that's not legit. It's just not going to happen that way.
Well, this is alarming. Tia Cruz, how do we protect ourselves from this type of scam?
Yeah, remember, once again, whoever the alleged government employee is that's calling you, no matter what, and they might call you, don't get me wrong, a government agent could certainly call you, but they're never going to threaten you. And an employee of the Social Security Administration is never going to suspend your Social Security number. And an employee of the Social Security or some government agency is never going to demand immediate payment from you or demand that you pay with cash, prepaid debit cards, gift cards, or wires. If you get a threatening call from a government employee, be very active, call that agency, ask to speak to that person's supervisor, and I think what you're going to find out is that you're involved in a scam.
I received an email from Amazon telling me that my Prime membership is up and that my card associated with my Prime account is no longer valid. It wants me to update my card or add a new card to the account. Is this a scam or is this real?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked the question, Susan, because most likely it's a spear phishing scam. During this pandemic, we've seen an increase in these phishing email scams that have malware incorporated into them. These emails contain misleading information and false links. A few of the phishing scams that we've seen here in Plymouth County come from credit card companies or Amazon, Comcast, Netflix, Facebook. They're landing in all of our emails.
What in the world is a phishing scam, and how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult nowadays, Gene, to keep all these phishing scams right. But if you don't understand, phishing scam is spelled with a PH, not with a fish, although it's very similar to phishing because you have individuals who are sending you either text or emails. It's like throwing a line into the water. They're trying to see who bites at it. And they're trying to send you that email. They're going to send you that text that appears to be from a legitimate company. And once again, it's a similar pattern. They try to startle you. They try to get your attention somehow. And so that you're going to be inclined to follow their instructions and provide your sensitive personal information. These emails and text messages have malware incorporated into them, and they often contain misleading and information and false links. So like that Amazon email you're talking about. A person's going to get an email saying that the Amazon Prime subscription is about to expire, but there's something wrong with the credit card associated with that account. It needs to be either updated or a new card needs to be added to that to renew that subscription. They call this spear phishing because they're targeting a specific person. They're trying to spear you by sending this phishing scam to you. So the email looks legit. It's got an Amazon logo on it. It says a from box on the top of the email states from Amazon Prime. But when you click on Amazon Prime in the from box, a weird looking email address is going to pop up. And that's a great way to determine if the email is fraudulent. And that's a scam. Because if it sends you somewhere else and it's asking for your personal information, that's malware. That's designed to take your information and use it somewhere else and steal from you.
I recently received a text message stating that I had a package being delivered, and the text had a tracking code and a link. to set up the delivery options. Is this legitimate?
Yeah, Susan, unfortunately, this is another phishing scam that utilizes as our SMS text messaging apps. The type of scam this is called smishing. And the type of text message is most likely a scam, because smishing scams can be very confusing, especially now because virtually everyone's shopping online. So a legitimate company, when you deal with them, they're going to inform you of your shipping and your delivery options right at the outset. Right when you place your order, that's when they're going to have that conversation with you. They might text you to alert you that it's en route or that it's coming or that it's going to be delivered within the next day or two, but they're not going to contact you via text to set up a delivery. So we've received reports that people have received texts from FedEx, UPS, Post Office, Amazon, saying that their package is en route. It looks legit. It contains a tracking code. It's got a link they can use to set up delivery options. The scam's very difficult to detect. And coincidentally, you may have just ordered something online, and you might assume that this purchase is related to that. Once again, though, if you click on the tracking code or the delivery setup, it brings you to a form that asks you for your personal information, your financial information. The company you've already dealt with already has that. So be alert. Click out of it. If they're asking you for your information, that means they don't have it and they want it, which means that's not the company you dealt with it from the outset. So just be careful.
What should I do if I receive one of the phishing emails or text messages, and after looking at it really close, I still can't tell that it's fake?
Yeah, no, because unfortunately, these scammers are really good at what they do. So if you receive one of these emails or one of these texts and you're not sure that whether or not it's legitimate, I encourage you to close out of that email or the text message as soon as possible. Go online and pull up the business website that you made the purchase from, or that's reflected in the text message, and check its validity. So if you were dealing with Amazon.com, it's an Amazon scam. Go into your account, use the login section on their website, go into their settings under the category of your account and select the your account or recent purchases option. This is a safe and secure way to determine whether or not the email or text is fraudulent. Because if there really is an issue with your account, with your order, with your delivery, it's going to be right there. So to protect yourself from being victimized, I'm urging everybody, stay vigilant and always be suspicious. And of course, if anybody is scammed by this, please contact your local police or contact the DA's office, because we have to get the word out to people. I know some people are embarrassed by this, that they've been taken advantage of, but the biggest thing that we can do is get the word out to other people. People shouldn't be embarrassed. These people are professional thieves that we're dealing with. So you shouldn't be embarrassed, but if something happens to you, reach out to us and let us try to do our job. And maybe there may be some hope to get your things back, but if nothing else, we'll be in a position where we're going to make sure that it doesn't happen to somebody else.
Thank you, District Attorney Cruz, for taking the time to speak with us today. This is great information and a valuable resource for our senior community. Is there some place that our viewers can go to get additional information regarding the resources offered by your office?
Yes, Susan. All this information and more is posted on our website. Our website can be accessed at PlymouthDA.com. Susan, I want to thank you, and Gene, I want to thank you for the opportunity to come on today and talk a little bit about what's going on during the COVID situation. It's great to be able to share this important information, and I hope everybody can remain safe, and we'll all get through this before you know it.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank District Attorney Cruz once again for coming on our program, and I would like to extend a special thank you to Gene Kling for coming on and asking such insightful questions. I would like to thank all of you at home for tuning in to watch this show. This wraps up this episode of Senior Safety. I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.